ready?
What'd you think of that?
You alright, babe? Man, you think?
I really wish I had like a 3-hour series where I could like literally talk about my intellectual reasoning for all of this. But you know what? 10 minutes will do, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Many of you guys are wondering why I'm even doing this, me included. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? Well, I'll tell you why. Many people in my real life know me as very political, right, Joel?
Oh, yeah.
It is a big passion of mine. If you guys don't know, I went to college to study politics. My entire educational background is in political theory, particularly in political philosophy. So all of the isms I know pretty well. And I also started my career in politics. In 2007, my first real big girl job was a presidential campaign. And it was great, it was amazing. And I worked in think tanks, I've worked in nonprofits, I've worked with other candidates. It's been great. But because of that, I haven't been able to be authentically myself for the last few years. Joel knows this. I feel like very self-censored. Enormous pressure to keep things to myself, but also fighting the urge to completely want to be myself and talk about these issues. And I think that comes from my background. As many of you guys know, my family is from Cuba and I was raised to be political. I think it's in my blood. I think all Cubans, it's in our blood. Yeah. My family sacrificed to be here so that I didn't have to have ever this feeling of being censored. But here I am feeling completely censored. Why is that? I think a few things come to mind. I have a political philosophy that many people don't understand. Many people don't get. And when I try to explain it, it doesn't really fit into the Republican or Democrat mold. I have a lot of criticisms for both Republicans and Democrats. I also think the media has such a huge part in this. The media has taken advantage at everything it can to sensationalize everything about this campaign. From Trump being a literal Nazi, which is crazy and not true, to Kamala being a literal communist, Marxist, which is also, I believe, not true. The hyperbole that's going on in America is out of control. Yet, I feel intense pressure to want to talk about these issues. It's because, like I said, it's part of me. Then again, I also feel like I have to justify why I think the way that I think. So it's hard. It's been really hard for me. This has not been an easy decision of mine. And had I been in a state that was very strongly blue or very strongly red, my decision would have been drastically different. Just keep that in mind when I say what I need to say. I live in Arizona, so it is a swing state, and I felt that my responsibility as a voter is to probably vote for one of the two candidates that actually has a shot of winning and not a protest vote like I really wanted to. Initially, I came into this campaign really disappointed. I said, come on guys, Trump again. Let's move on from Trump, right? I really liked Vivek at some points. I really liked what he was talking about. And I really loved what RFK was talking about. I really loved RFK. Joe Biden, on the other hand, I wasn't excited about. And I think many people weren't excited about him. Were you excited about him, Joel?
No.
No. I mean, come on. He's a walking corpse. And we all knew it. Nobody was excited.
He didn't go to the toilet.
Maybe he does. And I wasn't excited about him. And especially after Once de Julio, what happened in Cuba, I was particularly upset at his reaction. If you guys don't know, after Once de Julio was the largest protest in Cuba. His reaction was to gather a group of Democrat Cuban American donors, put them in a room for a photo op and say, hey, we care about the Cuban American people. He didn't invite any dissidents. He didn't invite anything. And I was so disappointed in that. And other things. The war in Ukraine, the war in Israel and Gaza, the inflation that we're all experiencing. I'm very upset at Joe Biden for that. So before I explain who I'm gonna vote for and all that nonsense, I want you guys to know what key issues really matter to me. I'm not your typical woman voter. I don't care about one issue and one issue only. My biggest issue is where we can decrease the federal government and individual lives. I have a problem with big government in every aspect of the word, in our economy and in our personal lives. I don't like it. I want agency of the individual. That is why I vote the way that I do. In 2020, I did not vote for the president. In 2016, I did not vote for the president. Everything else I voted for, but not the president. The last presidential campaign that I voted for president was in 2012. To me, I cannot accept that a party swapped a candidate for another candidate based on what the donors wanted. It's also unacceptable that a party pressures social media companies to censor American citizens. It is also a problem that we get ourselves into war and become the world's policemen all over the world. What party did that? Given everything, when I think of a world where I want less government overreach in our lives, where I want the respect for the First Amendment, a place that decreases war, I can't think of another candidate that can give me a slight, but slight positive in that than Donald Trump. I know, I would have never gotten to this point, but I look at the Democratic Party of today and I don't recognize it. I don't recognize it. Many of you probably are thinking, how can you be Cuban American, and vote for Donald Trump? He wants to be a dictator. You know why? Because I believe in this. The US Constitution. I think American citizens do not realize how genius this book is. This is one of the most important documents in human history. You might take for granted this here, but at the time in the 1700s, no other country in the world had something like this. And do I think that one man will crumble the institutions of 250 years of a stable government? No, I do not. Nor do I think Kamala will. I know there's people in the comments probably freaking out, thinking that one of these two sides there's going to be the last of the election. That's the hyperbole I'm talking about in the media. There's also many of you asking, I'm a woman. Why would I vote for somebody that wants to take my rights away? Don't I care about women's issues? For that I say, women's issues is not just one thing. Women's issues also means that my brother, my son, my father don't have to go to war. Women's issues is also putting food on the table. A woman's issue is still figuring out a way to buy a home in this country. That's what women's issues are. Women's issues are not just one thing and one thing only. And by the way, while we're on that topic, Kamala Harris cannot, no matter how much she goes on stage ranting and raving about women's rights and women's reproductive issues, she cannot do anything about it without Congress. That's just the truth. I know there's going to be a lot of people upset at the comments. They're going to be upset that I am going to be voting for Donald Trump. I mean, I'm really dragging my feet voting for Donald Trump, you guys. This is not an easy decision for me. I just see a little bit more slight positives in Donald Trump than I do Kamala. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to stop criticizing Donald Trump, because I absolutely will, and I have been. Don't I criticize Donald Trump all the time? You and I fight about this all the time. Yeah. But I just can't vote for a party that usurped the democratic process, put in someone that doesn't have a philosophical compass. I don't think she's a communist, because I think she's an empty vessel. And if she was a communist, she would actually have a philosophical core. I don't think she has that. I know this is probably word vomit. I'm just talking. I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I'm pretty nervous to post this, but I do want to be myself. Disagreement is one of the most beautiful things of our country. So we are able to have a conversation. You can be mad, commenting mad below. And it's a beautiful thing, because in Cuba, we couldn't even do that. In Cuba, you can't do that. In many places around the world, you can't. You can never do that. And I hope that many of you guys who do disagree with me, I was raised in California. Nearly all of my friends are Democrats, and I still love them and I respect them. Pero I have to say, let's make America great again. Oh God, did I say that? Oh, Dios mío. Dios mío.
God bless America.
Ay, Dios mío. Man, this was difficult. Pero bueno, I don't have a choice. You know, I feel like, fuck, Kamala, are you kidding? Oh my God.